Welcome everyone. We're Paul
And I'm Una.
and we're from CANA UK. Now, for any of you who are not familiar with CANA, it's a mission of the Chemin Neuf community for couples and families. The aim of which is to enrich, strengthen and support the relationship. And we really hope and pray that this time together, it will help strengthen you both as a couple. Now we're really excited. We're going to host the first of what is 6 online transmissions to English-speaking countries. We're not going to be alone on this journey. CANA UK will be joined by couples from Canada, Ireland and the USA. Now each country will host a separate transmission and we'll be holding them every couple of weeks at a similar time. However, the beauty of recording this online is that you can hook up whenever you want.
Yes, whether you're married or not, close or far from the church, happy or struggling, these sessions are intended to allow you time together to talk, pray, and to make your love deeper and stronger. Experience shows us that it's fundamental for a couple to have time to listen to each other. We are recording this at the height of the pandemic in the UK, and this is so important that we face the challenges of home working and spending so much time together. We want to emphasise that this is an opportunity for you to listen and talk to each other. We will present some focus, but it's not a coaching or a teaching video, but a platform for you. You might find it useful to take some notes during this time.
Yeah, so over the next hour, we'll present a reflection and the focal point will be each week to take an aspect of the home. For example, we're going to talk about the house itself, but we're going to explore the different experiences of different rooms. Then we're going to pose some questions for you to spend, 10 minutes by yourself and then 20 minutes together to both reflect and pray. And then we'll conclude the evening with a short prayer and some music.
So to make the most of this session, we recommend you switch off your mobiles and make yourself comfortable so that you are not disturbed for the next hour. You might even light a candle to make this time special. So let's take a few moments to settle down, to be quiet, to enter into this time and relieve the pressures of the day. Let's be thankful for nature and the colours of the changing seasons. We've all had to adopt to a new way of living. For some, this has directly affected those we love, and for others, it has altered all our plans. Many of us work at home now, and we're having to spend so much more time innovating and be creative with our children. We can be grateful that for some, this has been a time to connect more with family. But for others, it has caused difficulties at home and in the relationship. But for now, we take time to be thankful for this time and dispose ourselves to listen to each other. And for those of you who believe, maybe ask the Holy Spirit to guide you and be with you. The house can help symbolise many aspects of our relationship with each other as a couple. Our Lord used many symbols and signs from every day to put his message across. So join us on this journey around the home to allow ourselves time to share as a couple. For the first session, we want to focus on the house itself. The house is normally the central place where our marriage, our partnership and family life begins to grow, where we nurture and mature a relationship. We might have spent a lot of time finding the right house in the right neighbourhood. It is a place where we have chosen to live. It is a place of healing and caring for each other, joy and fun, sharing and intimacy, listening and dialogue, relaxing. And it's also a place where we serve each other.
And let's remember, it's also a place where we can experience conflict and division. We can think of the typical slamming of doors. It's a place where we choose to invite or not invite people, where we're able to express ourselves and be who we really are. For some, it's a place of living with children, where they learn to mature and grow. And it's also a place of safety. When we think about the various lockdowns around the world, the house has become the place where we've sought as a safe haven. So it's a place we need to take care of as well, if it's to last and become what we want it to be like. Our home has often been described as the basic cell of the church. It's like a small domestic church. Many of the values are the same, and in so many ways the house is a sacred place. It's a loving God that brings us together as a loving couple or a loving family. And in the same way as we see this of our church, we see this in our home. There was a recent homily, and the following was said that conveys something rather simple. Don't come to church to look for what you cannot find at home, because the mystery of God that I preach, the God that I preach from this altar, this loving God, is the same God that created you, man and woman. If you can't find him in the experiences of being man and woman together, how can you think to find him any more between these walls of the church than the walls of your own house?
So a house is composed of four main parts. You have the foundations that support the walls and the roof, and the opening points, doors and windows. These are filled by different rooms that we will go on and explore in later sessions. So now let's focus on the first main part, the foundations. No house will remain standing if it doesn't have good foundations. This is true of a couple and family life. The foundations is often an initial commitment that we have made to each other, the yes we said to each other, to commit our lives to each other, to journey as a couple, a joint project. I still can remember when I said yes to Paul and I committed my life to him at the Tower of London. It was a very important stepping stone, a confirmation of our love to each other and a decision to spend our lives together. But of course, foundations need reinforcements. You can think of the metal that strengthens reinforced concrete. So the presence of God in our marriage reinforces the basis of our marriage. Jesus uses similar descriptions in the Gospel of Matthew 7. He referred to a house built on a rock and the importance of strong foundations. And this can speak a lot to us, particularly the impact of poor foundations when the thunderstorms and the winds and the floods happen. Over the years, we've seen this in our relationship, the impact of illness, financial worries, problems with our children. It has been essential for us to have strong foundations that relies on the confidence and trust of God. And that yes we said when we got married. It also is the yes that God gives to us by the many graces that he pours out on us as a result of our commitment to each other. Our Lord talks a lot about what makes up strong foundations. If you take a look at the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5 and 6, it dwells on the importance of being compassionate, making peace, doing good, being humble, empathizing, faithful and giving. So to sum up, our house, our couple, is based on a yes to our mutual trust, to be in our relationship for the long term, and for us as a Christian couple, the presence of God who adds his yes to ours to help us on our journey together. One question you might be asked: what is the rock of our relationship as a couple? What are the foundations?
So let's now consider the supporting walls. Now, the relationship of the couple is well represented by the walls of the house. It's how the couple relates to each other that really holds that home together. And these are the load-bearing walls of our house. There are some fundamental dimensions, some of which Una has just mentioned. The love and care for each other, the watching out for how we can help the other grow and thrive. There's also an acceptance of the other with his or her qualities, both their strengths and weaknesses, their history. Una comes from an Irish culture, I come from an Italian culture. The importance of the freedom to grow and to flourish. It's a journey of discovery together in a very, very concrete way, managing life together that shows the highest respect for our mutual and different identities. And one wall builds and supports the other from its sure foundation. And in everyday life, we have many choices to make, but we are learning more and more to plan time together, difficult though it sometimes is, to agree upon things like the home, children. Most of ours are now adults, and we're dealing with the issues of cancelled weddings and rearranged weddings. There's finances, and there's the future, and how to spend time together, understanding how each is feeling, so we actually avoid assuming we know how the other is doing. So if we think of these walls, they are commonly built brick by brick, and they need patience. You also need to watch and be careful that the wall is straight. Similarly, there's a need to watch out for the development of each spouse. Otherwise, there's a real risk that those two walls, they're not going to be the same height. Even if they're thick enough, it's going to weaken the home if we're not watching the other wall and seeing whether they balance. And we experience how difficult this is to do when lives are lived in parallel, when we're not really looking out for each other. The reality is obviously that we often don't manage this. We don't manage to watch out and live those different elements to the full. So forgiveness is an essential part of the relationship. And this forgiveness is the cement of each of those bricks that we lay day by day. Beautifully. These load-bearing walls of our house and its fragility are noted in something that Pope Francis said. He writes, "Every marriage is a kind of history of salvation, which since the fragile beginnings, thanks to the gift of God and to a creative and generous response on our part, has grown over time into something precious and lasting. Can we say that the biggest mission of two lovers is to help each other become, respectively, more a man and more a woman? Fostering growth is about helping people build their identity. So love is thus a kind of craftsmanship."
Now the third element, the roof. You immediately think of the roof as a means of protecting the house from the rain and the snow. It's a way of avoiding damage to the contents of a house. It maintains that building. A strong home has a roof that holds. We all know what happens when we have a leaky roof. Over a period of time, the fabric of the house begins to deteriorate. Roofs have commonly two slopes. They represent the importance of listening and speaking within the relationship. Those slopes must balance to connect the walls of the house. The couple that talks and listens to each other are able to gain mutual knowledge, understanding, support, joy. They can avoid those pools of water, i.e., often those unspoken things that separate us. Communication is the core to creating and nurturing a relationship and requires the capacity to express oneself. So it consists of words, gestures, signs, behaviour, facial and bodily expressions, the ability to listen. This requires the attention of the person and the attention to the message to properly understand it, not to misinterpret what has just been communicated, or not to disqualify the other by thinking that he or she knows what he or she wants to communicate. Paul and I often find that we assume we know what each other is thinking or feeling. And often we're wrong. Mostly we're wrong. But it is only when we take time out to listen to each other and talk that we begin to understand and care. Everyone has their own language of love, which the other has to learn and discover. And there's a great book written by Gary Chapman called The Languages of Love, which gives us a deeper understanding of this language.
It's true, communication builds unity with each other. Between us, we see two broad types of discussion, small talk and great talk, to keep it simple. The small talk is the daily communication. It's the essential daily minimum. Did the postman arrive? How was the drive to work? And we definitely need this, it's important. But there's also great communication. And those are dedicated and regular times for two people to share truthfully and deeply. This communication, whether it's large or small, is really what makes our roof watertight. It's the solidity of the couple and the home. So an open question that we could ask is, does the dialogue that we really have help to keep the roof of our house in order to protect us as a couple?
Our fourth and last illustration are the openings of the house, the windows and the doors. The windows of our house allow us to give and receive, to breathe fresh air into the couple's lives. Life as a couple cannot take place by insulating ourselves from others. Even the most intensive love is exhausted if it remains locked in on itself. There is an issue in this lockdown, not only to take care of ourselves, but also not to lock ourselves in our house. The opening of the couple and our house creates an exchange where each one gives and receives. The windows show the radiance of our house in the world. As we begin to ponder on the significance of these ideas, we can ask ourselves, how can we keep the light in our house shining in the world?
So to sum up then, there is the foundation upon which our marriage is especially built. That yes. The supporting walls of each of us and the roof is the spoken word and this listening that allows unity to make the house watertight. And last but not least, it's the openings and the windows which let in the light and open our couple to and in the world. It's also an opportunity to invite the light of Christ into the house. Let's take a moment to contemplate Jesus, who clearly loved coming into houses. The house of Peter, where he used to teach. The house of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, sort of real home of rest and friendship. And also the house of Simon, the Pharisee, he came to eat there. And the upper room where he gave his life. Now, Jesus considered these houses to be clearly important places. They were places of encounter, of sharing, of words, of being together. And in these houses, Jesus speaks, he heals, and he lives. His apostolate, his mission, in these houses was not exceptional. Rather normal, you would say. In other words, it's everyday life, just like you and me. And it underscores the importance of the home to us, to the church, and actually to the broader society and the people that we meet. Our primary mission is actually our home. It's our marriage. And today Jesus wishes to repeat to you who are watching, and to us clearly, that peace in our homes, in our houses.
Now, as we mentioned, the dialogue is the place that makes unity in our couple for deeper, stronger love. We're now entering the heart of the evening. We're going to put 3 questions on the screen. We'd like you to take 10 minutes alone to reflect on the questions and maybe just jot a few points down. For the remaining 20 minutes, come back together to share and listen to each other. Each of you should share your thoughts without interrupting or judging. When you're talking, it is good to express the I rather than the you. This avoids judging or implying what the other thinks. So in a half an hour we'll meet again and conclude. So the 3 questions which will be on the screen are: do I feel at home? What does this tell us about our couple lives? Number 2, foundations, walls, roofs, doors and windows. On the basis of what I've just heard, what would I like to share with you? And 3, this lockdown period is an opportunity to make our homes more enjoyable. For example, our relationship. What specific actions do you want to take?
We're now going to conclude the session together. What we're going to suggest is really just a simple, short, quiet exercise of prayer where we focus on three simple things: saying thank you, sorry, and a request for grace, or a please. So in our hearts, we can say thank you to the Lord. For example, for what we've shared tonight around the questions of our house, of what we may have heard. If we feel we've not been as supportive to each, then let's ask the Lord's forgiveness in our hearts. Maybe for for our poor listening, to think back where we have felt disconnected or run in parallel without seeing the other, or for those walls that may not be even in size, the roof which may have had cracks in terms of our communication, where we haven't watched out for each other. We can ask the Lord to give us the grace to implement what we've decided. Now, where this is available on various chat lines, we're going to remain, obviously this will remain open, and do put your comments, particularly during the song as we relay it. If we do this, we're able to encourage each other and entrust each other's needs to the other, so we can pray for one another. I mean, we certainly hope to gather all of the comments, and we'll have a special prayer intention for all those who would like us to pray for specific needs. So we'll see you, well, not us actually, for the next theme, because we're going to be joined by another CANA team from another part of the world, and they're actually going to be discussing the theme of the living room. But take care of yourselves for now and your home, and keep safe.
Each of the countries holding these events has its own blessing song. The song you will hear now has been shared and adapted in so many countries around the world, and we will share it with you now. And it's the UK blessing. So goodbye.
Goodbye for now.
Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
second guessing. We know that we are protected. May the peace that surpasses all understanding be our message. Grace and favors in your nature, in your
May
essence.
His favor be upon you and 1,000 generations.